And we are live. Hi, Andrew Mason on a Sunday.
Hi, Cecil Lammey on a Sunday after a surprisingly relevant football Sunday for the Broncos, given the Broncos just sat back and not going to say they didn't do anything today because they had a walkthrough and then they had meetings as they get ready for tomorrow night, but a Sunday in which the Broncos were able to sit back and take in a little football. Some relevant things happened today.
Very much so. And we are here to talk about that. Also do a bit of an expanded pregame for the Monday night game. Again, we will be live from outside, or not live, but we'll do a little bit of a show from outside the stadium that should fire around 4 p.m. tomorrow. But tonight, we talk Broncos and the playoff path being clear. What happened today, Mace, that makes the Broncos playoff path even more clear now?
What happened is that the Cincinnati Bengals lost. And so that, combined with the Miami Dolphins losing in Green Bay on Thursday night, means it's as simple as this. First, the Broncos didn't get the break from Indianapolis they were hoping for. The Colts did come back and win today. But here's what we've got. The Broncos tonight, if they go 3-2 in the next 5 games, and one of those 3 wins is against the Indianapolis Colts, who they play in 2 weeks, there's nothing anybody else can do. The Broncos are in the playoffs, period. They're in the playoffs with a Miami loss. That's it. 3-2, 1 win over Indy, Miami loss. They're in the postseason. Throw that graphic up on the screen.
There we go. Whew.
Miami, by the way, plays the Jets twice, including once next week. They play at Houston, San Francisco at home, and at Cleveland. And they're a 5-7 team. Wouldn't you say it's reasonable, even with Tua back, to expect the Miami Dolphins to lose once here in the run-in?
Yes. Yeah, you said 2 against the Jets. I was like, make me feel good, baby, because 2 against the Jets is 2 wins for the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
Okay, Miami loses once, you win 3 games, and one of the 3 wins versus Indy. Path has become clear for the Denver Broncos in Week 13.
It has. Okay, sorry, there's something weird on my screen because I think we look fine. Cecil, you look full size on the internal monitor, but then I'm looking at my phone and you look like you're 16:9. But I think we're okay. It's throwing me off a little bit, but I think we're okay.
Do you look at the screen or do you? Because my camera's right here, but I actually look at the screen, which is right here.
See, I look here. Yeah. So that's why. But it looks normal on my monitor here. It doesn't look normal on my phone here, so it's just throwing me off. But
all right.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get this right.
We got it. We'll get it.
When it's a live broadcast, we got some technical difficulties. But yeah, 3-2. One of the wins over the Colts. Miami lost. There's nothing anybody can do because I guess the Broncos to 10 wins. Miami already has 7 losses. One gets them to 8 losses. And you don't want to be in a tiebreaker with the Miami Dolphins. That's the thing. All tiebreakers, because it goes to conference record. It looks like it's leaning against the Broncos in a tiebreaker with the Miami Dolphins to get in the playoffs. So that's why one more Miami loss and you are feeling very good. But it's interesting now that we went into today, I think rightfully so, saying that Bengal game, big game there.
Yep.
In Week 17. Now it's only big if the Broncos screw this up in the next 3 weeks. If Denver can get 2 of the next 3, and one of those 2 is against Indianapolis, which now looks like the big game as far as getting in the playoffs. So 2 of the next 3 beating the Colts, then the Bengals can't catch the Broncos by beating them, even if they win even if they win the rest of their games, because right now the Bengals are 3 back of the Broncos heading into Monday night, 3 back in the loss column. They'll be a half game thrown in there based on Monday night. But here's the thing. All this we're talking about, it's predicated on winning Monday night against Cleveland. Let's throw the other graphic up because you know what? Cleveland, they're not the team that they were with Deshaun Watson. Think of Cleveland as the team that beat Pittsburgh, okay?
Yep.
The team that has found something cohesive with Jameis Winston throwing to Jerry Jeudy. Lose Monday night. By the way, if the Broncos win Monday night, their playoff chances will be 78% according to the New York Times simulator. Lose Monday night, those chances drop to 52%. The Colts are back within one game, which means in a fortnight at Empower Field at Mile High, everything's on the line, because if the Broncos lose Monday night and then lose to the Colts will leapfrog the Broncos in the playoffs. They will have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So now that Bengal game could still matter, but right now it's looking like the Colt game is going to be the high leverage game for getting in the playoffs. Now, if the Broncos win tomorrow night and they win against Indianapolis on the 15th, then that Thursday night game against the Chargers becomes interesting, because then we start talking about, can the Broncos move up a seed?
Right.
Or maybe even move up 2 spots. They lose the tiebreaker to Baltimore, but Baltimore sitting at 8-5 right now, just a half game ahead of the Broncos after Justin Tucker had what I think is objectively the worst game of his career. You would remember this name. I referenced this name on social media, Cease. I did not have Justin Tucker turning into Neil O'Donoghue on my 2024 NFL season bingo card. And for those of you who are young and don't remember who Neil O'Donoghue was, look him up. He kicked for Tampa Bay and St. Louis. Somehow he kicked several years in the NFL, even though he was never very good.
Yeah, it's not great, Bob.
Yeah, not great at all. And that's what Justin Tucker was today.
I think that Boswell broke him in that Steelers game. A couple weeks ago when the Steelers beat the Ravens. It's like, wow, Justin Tucker's like it's a mental thing with kickers. It is.
Totally.
And so that happened today. The Bengals, it's not a Bengals show, but they can't stop anybody. If they had a half-assed defense, Joe Burrow would be in the MVP conversation. He's fine. But boy, they can't stop anybody. That's why Russell Wilson had a career high in passing yards at halftime. He had 257. It's the first 2 quarters. He's never done that before. 257.5 for Russ, who finished with 400 on the day.
And he was doing some un-Russ things like throwing down the middle.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. Because he could see down the middle.
Well, I think Freiermuth's like, he's 7 feet tall.
Oh my
he's not
gosh.
that tall, but like you get him a big tight end and he can see that guy.
That's how cataclysmically bad the Bengals defense is, that Russell Wilson was killing him down the middle.
Crazy.
I mean, Lou Anarumo has to he has to be gone at least after the season. He should probably be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
The question now, I think, is does Zach Taylor survive? Because even though you had the loss of Burrow last year that you were able to overcome with Jake Browning in there, and you finished over 500.
Right.
I mean, I guess here's the thing. If I'm the Bengals, if you found out that you could get Ben Johnson as your next head coach, would you make a change?
Would they want to pay him? There's a conversation that we were around with a prominent national source, and it came back to like, is Zach in trouble? Because I asked this guy, hey, is Zach in trouble? He said, yes, but the Bengals are cheap.
Yes, that's the thing that holds everything up.
Look, Ben Johnson going to cost a lot of money. Yeah,
and this is an organization that hasn't figured out if it's going to pay Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. They need to pay one of them. My goodness.
And the answer's easy. It's Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Like Higgins is hurt a lot. I don't want to say he's a number 2, but he's hurt a lot.
Higgins is good, but like you said, he's injury prone. Chase is special. You pay for special.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's sort of when you're trying to make that decision, it's who's the special talent? Who's harder to replace? Is that usually more expensive? Of course. But you can find another T. Higgins. You might have even found one in Iosivas out of Princeton.
Shrine Bowl guy.
Wait, he was Shrine and senior.
You're right.
He was one of
Zay
the
Flowers, right? Zay Flowers.
He was one of the dudes that got that you see. You don't see it. Don't see it as much now. There's crossover, but when it was like separate weeks, he was one of the dudes that made the leap from the Shrine to the senior. Yeah, they won't miss T. Higgins, but they would miss Jamar Chase. But Cincinnati, I mean, this is the thing. You're sitting there tonight, and yeah, I know this isn't a Bengals show, but you can't talk about the Broncos and where they stand in the playoffs without talking about the Bengals, because I've often said if you see in baseball a late season rise or collapse, like the Rockies in 07 or October, right? Everybody remembers that. It does not happen if the New York Mets don't collapse. So when you have one thing, there's always something else involved. The Broncos rising into playoff contention, being in a situation where here on December 1st, like we've said, they could lose 2 games. And if Miami loses 1, the Broncos are a playoff team. But a reason why that situation exists is because the Bengals' defense has been so poor. Today, by the way, they tied a league record shared but with the 0-2 Chiefs for most losses in a season when scoring 30 plus.
Wow.
4.
Wow.
They lost a game in which the offense didn't have a turnover and didn't have a punt. So the Broncos put themselves in a situation where they could capitalize on this. Yeah, as Zach By would say, 2 things are true at the same time. The Broncos are having a terrific season, exceeding expectations, and a reason why they are sitting in a good playoff position right now is because the Bengals defense couldn't stop anybody.
Man, are they terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible. Here's the thing that concerns me about the Colts, because the chat room is saying, watch out for the Colts. Anthony Richardson doesn't get it yet, but you're afraid that he will get it. Plus, you've had guys like Josh Downs, who I believe missed today's game.
Yeah.
Alec Pierce has been a little bit banged up. So you have multiple weapons. You have tight end help, but mainly, Mace, you have Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor is going to take a lot of resources to slow down, both as a runner and as a receiver out of the backfield. And Richardson is dangerous as a runner as well. And the Broncos, against quarterbacks that can run, have had some issues.
That drive today, that 19-play drive that won the game, Richardson was at the helm and made the play to convert 3 fourth downs, 2 via the pass, 1 with his legs. He ran for 48 yards today, including that 4th down run on that game-winning drive. Again, passing, underwhelming. He was 12 of 24 today for $109. But when they needed plays from Anthony Richardson, he made them. That may be where this starts for him, is delivering in high leverage situations that require another gear. The consistency is definitely not there with AR5 at this point. It's not close.
No.
But you mentioned Jonathan Taylor. If you can get enough out of JT and stay in the game, the Colts' best play and their best chance of coming into Denver and winning might be something that looks a lot like it did today against New England, which, yes, they're sitting there with only 3 wins, but this is also a better team than it was a month and a half ago, in part because Drake May had yet another good game. Drake is stacking quality games up. I mean,
and he's doing it with Austin Hooper and Kayshon Boutte and Kendrick Bourne and Demario Douglas.
Can you imagine what it might look like for him with better targets? I mean, we talk about the Broncos pass catching targets, and Courtland Sutton reemerging has been very nice, and Devon Vele developing has been very helpful, but you're still not getting much from the tight end position. If you gave the Broncos New England's tight ends, I mean, you'd be cooking with gas at that point. But with both Drake May and Bo Nix, we're talking about 2 quarterbacks who don't have all the cards in the deck just yet to work with. Mm-hmm. And yet they're still doing really well. So, that's that's why, even though I think it's way too early to say this, you're hearing some of the hot take like, oh, is this like the 1983 class? No. We're not saying that yet. We're not even close to saying that yet. That thing had 3 Hall of Famers. It had another quarterback who starred in the Super Bowl, Tony Eason, and another who was pretty good for the New York Jets for a few years, and that was Ken O'Brien. So we're not at that We're not at that point in the conversation yet at all. But it's fair to be encouraged by the progress of all these guys. But against that, Anthony Richardson, when they needed him most, he stepped up. That's a skill too, is being big in those moments. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix was big in those moments there against Kansas City. Should have gotten the Broncos a win. Boy, how would we feel about the Broncos if they'd gotten that game? Man, because the Chiefs would be 10-2, the Broncos would be 8-5. The Broncos could have the tiebreaker on them. The Chiefs would still be looking fragile. Man, oh gosh,
it'd be nice.
Yeah,
it would be nice. And going back to that Chiefs game, just super quick, Mace, because I hate the game is rigged for the Chiefs narrative. But this is what I also hate, how closely the NFL is tied with Vegas. They have too many ties with Vegas. Crap like this makes it just, your radar goes up. Like, oh, what was the line? Where's the money at? And because they're so cozy with Vegas, their integrity needs to be number one. They need full-time refs. The end of the Chiefs game was an abomination. And to me, it's not, the game is rigged for the Chiefs. I go above that. I don't like what it says because so many people put so much money and it's just wide open. It's not no longer the wink, wink and nod that it used to be in the 80s. It's just wide open. Everybody's gambling.
This is why for many, many years, the NFL was very tight on trying to keep gambling out of the game. The wink, wink was it. That was it. Mm-hmm. That was all that they wanted.
Yep.
And look, I mean, we exist in a post-Tim Donaghy world. Okay? And when you see the official on the far side running in and signaling false start, and there's a whistle blown. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm one of the, again, I'm a Hanlon's razor person, never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence. But I get why the spidey sense is tingling. I understand that. It's completely relatable.
Yep. So Broncos go win the games and go line it up. Chat room's also saying don't overlook the Browns because as you mentioned with Jameis Winston, and we could go through the audio we've got of Sean Payton. We can go through the audio of Mike McGlinchey talking about Myles Garrett. Like, this game against the Browns this isn't a gimme. This isn't an easy game. This is a game where you will be tested by a team that would love nothing more than to knock you from the perch that you've scratched and clawed for. I don't think nationally, maybe Bo Nix, people are, starting to build him up in ways that may be unfair, Colin Cowherd. But this is a Browns team, Mace, that would love to punch you in the face in your own house. And they've got the capability of doing it.
They have the talent.
Yep.
Forget about what this Browns team was for the games before Jameis Winston started. Of course, they were 1-6 before Winston checked into the lineup starting against Baltimore. Since then, it's a 2-2 team. Okay, yeah, they have a couple of shaking losses, but they also have a couple of big wins. I mean, they've played Baltimore, LA, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh in the last 4 games. So 3 teams that are currently in the postseason, and they've beaten 2 of them. I mean, that stink bomb against New Orleans, that one is hard to explain, but they're playing better ball. And, oh, by the way, Jameis is unlocking Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, the last 4 games with Jameis Winston, 24 catches, 379 yards, and a touchdown. Take that 379 and extrapolate that over 17 games. That's a 1,400-yard pace that Jerry Jeudy has been on since Jameis Winston stepped into the lineup. So I know, like I put out there, oh, Jerry Judy's flourishing, and people are like, oh, no, he's not. Look at his season numbers. Screw his season numbers. Look what he's doing with Jameis. That's what matters right now. Now, that being said, you're going to have Pat Surtain on him, and Jerry Jeudy even noted he expects Pat to shadow him.
Yep.
And that's the best call here because Cedric Tillman's not playing in this game. So it's a weak Cleveland wide receiver core beyond Jerry Jeudy. Your focus needs to be on stopping Jerry Jeudy. But to say Jeudy is not flourishing right now is hogwash because he's playing right there with that stretch at the end of the 2022 season when he got going. This is one of the two best stretches he's had of his career. And, of course, that stretch at the end of 22, remember, compelled the Broncos to pick up the fifth-year option when it seemed like that was in doubt on Jerry Jeudy.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you three choices, Mace. You tell me which two you have to stop. So basically, the one that you do not choose is who you're comfortable with letting you beat you. Okay?
Okay.
Your three choices are Jerry Jeudy, Nick Chubb, David Njoku.
Okay.
Which two must you stop? And which one are you comfortable saying, like, okay, I guess we're just going to dare him to beat us with this guy. So two of the three, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Nick Chubb.
Believe it or not, I'm saying Chubb. Because he has not looked explosive since coming back.
That is that would not be my choice. My
I
choice
know
would be Njoku. But Njoku will get you. Like, that's the thing. You can lock Jeudy down, and Njoku will still get you. You know, Elijah Moore is a dangerous receiver. But man, if you uncork Nick Chubb, that could just lead to play action passing opportunities. And, you know, again, you got to kind of prepare for Jonathan Taylor. Chubb doesn't look the same coming back from his knee injury.
Yeah.
But man alive, you're facing a stud running back who then you can build plays off of in terms of play action and setting things up for Elijah Moore or David Njoku.
You are, but it's looking more and more with Chubb like it's get back to that form next year rather than this year. This year, he doesn't have a carry longer than 15 yards. He's averaging 3 yards an attempt since coming back. So this is more. It's a little bit of pick your poison, but I'm also making a call based on, all right, I'm counting on him not getting it back. Saying, okay, if you let him be the guy that has some space, I don't think that the explosiveness is there right now to where he's going to be a game breaker the way Njoku can be a game breaker and the way Jerry Jeudy is showing those signs of becoming a game breaker working with Jameis Winston. That's why I'm making the call to say I'll take what Chubb throws at me and live with it.
Now, you'll remember this from his Florida State days, and Lord forgive me, I cannot remember the tight ends he worked with, but Jameis was number one in college football at targeting tight ends. He's always loved the tight end position. And if you're the Denver Broncos and you can handle Brock Bowers, I think you need to treat David Njoku in the same way. Now, if I'm choosing to shut down Jeudy, shut down Chubb, let Njoku beat you. But the problem then becomes Njoku can, because he's a talented player. So in a way, you want to choose all three, Mace. So I think it's a fascinating conversation of like, pick your poison, because Njoku should get the Bowers treatment, and I'm not sure you're going to have the resources if you choose to shut down Nick Chubb. Njoku is a talented player, and Jameis, from his college days, always loved tight ends.
Now, hopefully it won't come down to this sort of pick your poison. Hopefully the Broncos can contain all of them, and they've shown signs that as long as you're not dealing with 4 potential high-level weapons, that they can handle that. Like when it's that number of high-level skill weapons, as you see from the Baltimore Ravens, as you saw last year from Detroit and Miami, that's where this defense has found the most problems that it's faced. 3 is something I think they can handle. So I think they're going to be okay, especially with, and this is, Pat Surtain does give you the luxury here, because you were going to say, Pat, you're shadowing your guy, Jerry Jeudy. And ideally, Pat's doing his thing. And everyone else, and then the safeties are free to provide more run support and also help out against Njoku. So I don't I think it'll work out, but there are reasons to be wary. Certainly, if this Browns team still had Amari Cooper cease, I'd be very concerned. Even though Levi Wallace is a pretty good reserve option to have, I'd be very concerned about the Broncos playing this game without Riley Moss.
Yeah. And a good thing with the bye week is you got that extra week for Moss to then get healthy and return to the field for the playoff push after that. But this game, you must take care of this game. You cannot overlook them. Or the nice thing is they're not feeling their oats. And Sean Payton's talked about that. Let's play that clip. It's about a minute long, Mace, but it's about how this team doesn't get ahead of themselves. Yeah. I like what Coach Payton has to say here.
I think it's weekly. I think part of that is the team itself. We didn't feel like we played necessarily our best first half last week, and yet, we came back and so you really segment the season. It's the next game, the significance of the next game. It's the message, I think, that takes place throughout the week. The ongoing message, and I think that I think they're smart enough to understand the margin for error in our league, period. All these guys are, they're professionals. So, and then it's really focusing in on us and what we're doing and how we're practicing and getting ready for the next game.
It's on them, Mace.
Yeah.
They know that, and we're in that locker room, and none of these guys are getting ahead of themselves. We're talking about the Colts game. They're thinking about the Browns. They're locked in on this Monday night game because it's prime time, baby. You don't want to go out there and lay an egg. Everybody's just starting to talk about you.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, this would be a kick in the pants, and this is why I get why in Broncos country there's a bit of hesitation because, boy, losing this one would be the banana peel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after the last 7 losing seasons, there would be a lot of same old Broncos chatter around these parts. You know it. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's understandable. When you've been down for so long, your default is to assume that something bad is going to happen. Hey, I always say, see that Bucks pennant behind me there? I mean, that's obviously when they won Super Bowl 37, but I was sitting in the stands for a lot of those 14 straight losing seasons. I understand. I get it. Like there are not many things I understand very well about the psychology of sports fans sometimes, but I understand the psychology of assuming something bad's going to happen when you've been pulling for a team that's been in a rut for this long as the Broncos have. I get it.
Yep.
So, but I do think this is a different team, a better team. And I also think that in that building, they're not burdened by the past. This is something for all of us who are watching, whether we're in the stands, watching on television, sitting in the press box, wherever we're taking this in. That's for us. But it's not for what is in that locker room. Those guys have a different mindset. It's a mindset that comes from having been 1-5 last year and gotten back into the race, even though things were less than functional at the quarterback position. And it's a mindset that comes from being 0-2 at the start of this season with Bo Nix looking very much like a rookie and then going 7-3 since then. Very easily could have been 8-2 with Bo Nix looking more and more like a seasoned, steady veteran, a cool set of hands at the wheel.
Mm-hmm. Handle your business against Myles Garrett. Something that Mike McGlinchey talked about earlier this week because Garrett's still a problem. So here's what the big right tackle had to say.
Another one of those guys that's just, a world-class player. He's, as good as they get in this league and physically obviously so gifted and is a talented pass rusher and plays so hard. So it's going to be another one of those weeks where you got to plan around and how to have a specific plan to battle what he does well. I know the game plan will be surrounded about it, and you just got to go out and fight, and that's what we've been doing, and got to keep the train rolling.
Game planning for Myles Garrett. Well, I'm sure that's going to be a big point of emphasis, or was this last week for the Broncos.
Well, it also comes after a week in which you face Max Crosby, who has, historically speaking, caused you more problems in pass protection than basically anybody in the history of the Broncos on a per-game basis.
Mm-hmm.
And you held Max Crosby without a sack, but you didn't keep him from being disruptive. Max Crosby had as impactful a game as an edge rusher can have without getting a sack. I mean, he's multiple TFLs, multiple pressures. He was causing problems, but you did keep him from the sacks. And this is also where Bo Nix comes into play. Sacks, as Sean Payton will tell you, mostly a quarterback stat. And Bo Nix able to escape that. His sack rate still one of the lowest in the NFL.
Yep. Getting rid of the ball quickly, helping out his offensive line, and getting the ball to the playmakers like Courtland Sutton doing more, like Devon Vele. We have to talk about what the future holds for the rest of these guys, but for right now, those two are set. And then if they get a little something extra, if I attack the Browns, honestly, and I even hesitate saying this, but I try their linebackers with the tight end. Unfortunately, outside of a catch or two here or there with Adam Troutman, there could be more. I'm not predicting a Troutman game, but like if they wanted to, that's where I go at Cleveland.
I would too. I would
Denzel
go
Ward's
with Troutman.
good corner. He's a good. Yeah. We always talk about that draft. We always talk about Bradley Chubb and Josh Allen. Denzel Ward's a damn good player.
And Denzel Ward, they took him over Bradley Chubb.
That was the shocker that allowed Chubb to be there that made the Broncos go, hey, we didn't even think he'd be here.
Was it?
Like
yeah, it wasn't a shocker. I mean, I had
that's what they said.
I had Denzel at 4 in my mock to Cleveland.
Hey, that's just what they said. So.
I know it's what they said, and when they said that, I'm like, what?
We didn't do any mocks where he had him there.
Yeah, how could you be doing mocks and nobody had Chubb falling to 5 when I'm sitting there in my cubicle and I've got Denzel Ward at 4 and Chubb at 5? Like, what's going on in that room there? Mm-hmm. I think what it is it's a lot of CYA. It's a lot of it's also yes men as well.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Like that's why there was something Sean Payton said yesterday about how he and the coaches that are involved with the pass game in particular, they're going through plays, and how he wants all those voices: Joe Lombardi, Davis Webb, Pete Carmichael, Johnny Morton, Johnny Moe. You've got a lot of voices in there, but he wants that. So and he wants them speaking freely. He doesn't want groupthink. He wants honesty. He wants ideas. And I think that was something that got a little bit away from the Broncos back in those days, which is how you are sitting there in your draft room and you go through all these mock drafts and you don't have Bradley Chubb falling to 5.
And then you say it into a microphone.
Oh, man alive.
I know.
There are all these little things. We don't see everything, but we get enough of the glimpses to see this is why this team had 7 consecutive losing seasons, a streak that hopefully stops this year.
I'll steal a line from our buddy Sigmund Bloom. We're just peeking through keyholes, Mace.
That's a great way of putting it, because after all, we in the media, as Chuck Noll said, should be treated like mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed poop.
Okay. Yeah.
He didn't say poop. He said the other word, but yes.
He said something else.
Yes, he did. You can figure that one out.
Yeah. Sutton and Nix having a good thing going. We actually didn't play this in our Sutton show yesterday. But let's play this now because we played Nix talking about Sutton. But here's Court talking about his young quarterback, and just listen to the love coming from the veteran receiver.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think that it's only going to continue to keep growing. I think that you look at some of these quarterbacks that have these dynamic duos with certain receivers, I think that, they have the success. They have some success early on, but you look at like a Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers when they were in Green Bay. They got to spend a lot of years together before before everyone really started seeing that connection of being almost unstoppable when they lined up. And so time's going to be one of those things that's going to continue to be our the thing that's going to help us the most, I guess you can just say, and just continuing to maximize these reps we get in practice, and when we get these reps in the game, trying to stack them as much as we can.
Time's going to be their greatest asset, and makes you think, man, I wish they had more time together. Hint, hint, Denver Broncos.
Well, it makes you wish they had a little more time together in the offseason when Court decided he wasn't holding out.
Sure.
It's voluntary, and he was
Sure.
there when it was mandatory, but Court did miss a few weeks.
But as you said yesterday, that's Sean knowing how to push the buttons in a
Yeah.
matter of however many hours. Court went from talking one way to talking completely different after talking to Sean. And what he did with us in the press conference, you were at Coors Field with him, but what he did for us chuckleheads in the press conference was kind of, stick up for himself, basically, minus some team speak. And then he had a completely different sound later. So
Yeah.
that's Sean knowing how to push his buttons the right way and get through to him, communicate.
I think Sean got through to him, and I think the other thing that happened is he met Bo Nix and hung out with him and got to talk with him too.
It's pretty
I
cool.
think it was a combination of those things. And then Court came back for training camp with the restructure that was incentive based, and looks like he's on his way to meeting some of those incentives if he can keep up the recent pace that he's had with Bo Nix. Came back to training camp, ready to go. And we've seen him flourish in the last few weeks as well. Now, that being said, you mentioned Denzel Ward, so maybe this is a game where Court's numbers don't look quite the way they have. This could also be an interesting game because, as we talked about on the Saturday show, the Broncos put Josh Reynolds down as questionable. Of course, they have to make a decision on him coming off of injured reserve by Wednesday. That's when the 21-day period expires. But they've kept the door open for Josh Reynolds to play Monday night, which is something they did not do in the previous weeks. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. I don't want to see him take snaps from Court. I don't want to see him take snaps from Vele. Does he take some snaps from Lil Jordan Humphrey? Maybe, but Lil Jordan's also the best run blocker that you have there. So this is and you're not going to have him take snaps from Marvin Mims Jr. because now Mims is effectively getting running back snaps.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe doesn't have the Joker tattoo as Sean Payton said, but he's getting in the club.
I'll do the Jared Leto smile face Joker. Like, get him that tattoo, right?
Yeah.
Let him listen, you're facing Myles Garrett. Draw plays and screen passes, baby. Football 101. Draw plays and screen passes. We're going to slow that rush down. You slow it down with draw plays and screen passes. There's Marvin Mims plays right there.
Oldest trick in the book. They're real, there are innovations and tweaks, but when it comes to this game, there's not a lot new under the sun,
Was that Dark Helmet that said it's the oldest trick in the book?
Oh, yeah.
One man dare gives me the raspberry. Lone Star.
Well, no, the oldest trick in the book is later. It's when it's at the end, right?
Yeah.
When he put her there, and he pulls the ring off. And then Lone Star realizes that it's not about the ring, that Yogurt found it in a Cracker Jack box.
We don't do enough of Spaceballs on this show. We both should, because it's a classic. That's for sure. Rick Moranis, everybody.
Yes. Rick Moranis, John Candy as Barf.
Yep.
I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
What's your name? Bartholomew.
Oh gosh, that was one that made my dad smile. I'm half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
That is a classic. Well, we wanted to get into this a little bit, Mace.
Yes.
And our guy Rodney here in the chat room says, "Hey, Cecil and Andrew, what do you guys think of the midnight blue uniforms and the white helmets?" I will say, when I got my Bo Nix jersey the first day at rookie minicamp, I wanted the blue. They didn't have the blue. They've got the blue now.
The blue jersey in and of itself is really sharp. I'm a fan of the blue jersey. I'm not a fan of wearing it with blue pants. I'd prefer the white pants. I mean, if I'm drawing up the combination that I would want to see, it's white pants, blue jersey, or white helmets, blue jerseys, white pants, blue socks. The rumblings are it's going to be blue socks with the blue pants and the blue jerseys, so it's going to be the leggings look. You need contrasting socks. Yeah, the socks need to contrast the pants for a real football uniform, in my opinion.
That's not a great combination.
No, but for some reason the leggings look is in.
Okay.
Yeah, Damani Leach said to me back in August that the players were driving the pant choice, because I asked them about that, and it sounds like they may be driving the sock choice as well. So, okay, whatever. But I did do a Twitter survey a few days ago, not, for what those are worth, probably not much. And the preferred sock with blue jerseys and blue pants was white, followed by orange, followed by blue. So I like seeing the blue jerseys. I'm just a little disappointed with the overall look that we're going to see. But I like seeing the blue jerseys, and I like the white helmets. And I frankly I would like to see the white helmets with orange jerseys, but the league won't let them do that. Like, I think, I actually put this on social media this week. White jersey, orange, or white helmet, orange jersey, white pants, orange socks. I think that would look exceptional.
Okay. Well, your Twitter audience has almost 2,000 people watching us live right now, just from your Twitter.
Good God.
Yeah, so we're about 3,300 that are watching live, and a good chunk of them are from your Twitter. So, hi, Twitter. How's it going?
Hi. Hello out there on social media.
The players, we got to see the helmets hanging up. You got to see them at practice.
They look good.
They look really good, and it seems like the players like them as well. So we got a few players talking here, Mace. Who do you want to hear from first about the white helmets?
Let's start with the PJ Locke talking about the white helmets.
I love them, honestly. Like, I can't wait till after the season to go hang that up on my wall. So I pretty much got all my helmets like hung up on the wall and stuff like that. So this is one I'm definitely hanging up. Actually, just talking to B. Jones about it, I was like, man, I love these helmets, man. They look icy.
They did wear white helmets last year with the old logo, and I'll actually say this. I mean, if you believe in superstition and that sort of thing, they did lose both games with the white helmets. So if they lose this one on Monday night, there may be some comments in the building about the white helmets. And yes, white helmets would have nothing to do with the defeat, but I just know how sports ball people can be with superstitions. That's just it is. I have that as well. It's just kind of the way we are. So next comment want to play. It's more about the uniforms as well. Mike McGlinchey talking about the white helmets, but also talking about the blue jerseys and overall blue as well.
Pretty sweet. I'm more excited about the blue jersey, though. It's a little bit more slimming for the big guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a little bit better than the all orange was a couple weeks ago.
Okay. There you go.
And I'll say this, like, compared to the blue on blue look of previous years, there was something about those uniforms when you had the big orange swoosh down the side. It really kind of called attention when they went blue on blue to a lineman's natural girthiness, perhaps, in a way that just going with a blue jersey and blue pants without the side panels does not. So I think that's an improvement. That part is an improvement. And here's Adam Troutman also talking about the white helmets as well, although also revealing that he's got a favorite in the closet.
Oh, they're sweet. Yeah, they're gonna look really good on Monday, but I would wonder how they'd look with all white or other ones too. So who knows? Maybe that's coming at some point. I have no idea.
White helmets or the throwbacks? You have a preference?
throwbacks. I think everyone would, just because of the jersey as well.
Yeah.
But the lighter blue helmet is pretty sweet.
Legacy blue.
Yeah, we'll see that against Kansas City in Week 18. You're limited to 3 total games with alternate jerseys or alternate helmets. So the Broncos used 2 of them on the throwbacks and 1 with the white helmet. My idea is that they need to increase that number. Now, I don't know if the NFL will do that. The NFL is weird on branding and stuff like that. But I would like to see a scenario where the Broncos wear the throwbacks for every divisional home game. Then because there is a sentiment in the Broncos organization, I've talked to people about this, about keeping the throwbacks special. AFC West games at home are special. So to me, that would be if in an ideal world where you say got 4 or 5 opportunities to wear alternate uniforms, I'd say, okay, fine. We're going to use those throwbacks every year for the home games against the Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers. Done. Your special
I would make
games.
one addendum to that, Mace, and you will enjoy this because you said the AFC West. I'd go Seattle at home too.
Ooh.
If you ever, Seattle was a blankety blanker against them in the day, man.
Mm-hmm.
Go up to the Kingdom, we play them at home. When Seattle was the AFC West, it was a tougher game. They'd always get them. It always seemed to be at these odd times, and Seattle would just get you.
Yeah.
They'd get away.
They got Tommy Maddox once too. Monday Night Football, 1992, Broncos, Seahawks. Seattle finished that season 2-14, and one of the 2 was against Denver at home. That was actually it was an emotional night in Seahawks history because to that point, the only radio play-by-play announcer they'd had was a guy named Pete Gross, and he was dying of cancer. And they put him into their ring of honor that night, but he was too ill to call the game and literally died 2 nights later.
Wow.
Yeah. Like he planned to call the game, but he only had the strength to take part in the ceremony and say a few words. And then, literally he went home and died. It's, there was a lot of emotion. There were a lot of things around that game that I look back on. I'm like, yeah, the Broncos weren't going to win that game. The emotion. I think that probably was bigger than Tommy Maddox starting for an injured John Elway then. But yeah, Seattle, even when Seattle was struggling, they would rise up and get the Broncos. But the Broncos had some memorable games. They're, along with the 2012 game against the Chargers, the biggest comeback in Broncos history is against the Seahawks back in 1979 when Craig Morton came off the bench for Norris Weiss and led the team back in the second half. I think back to the last game of 1984 in the regular season, effectively a division championship game at the Kingdom. Steve Foley adding to his Ring of Fame resume with a pick 6 as the Broncos beat the Seahawks and took the division title. And we're not going to mention Super Bowl 48. How about that?
Yeah. How about we don't mention that? I will mention this before we're out of here today because we have some great listeners all over the place. And so last night, this says a lot about me. I hope it says something good. Maybe. I hadn't been to the liquor store here in Roxborough for like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Our guy Dave was holding on to this since August.
That's awesome.
So this one's for you, Mace. Because this was inspired by you. He's got a little one. He gave you a little one too.
Oh, so okay. Because I'm
going to have your choice.
Because you got it. I got the Ted Lasso.
I think you need the little one because it would match the Ted Lasso.
I think.
Right?
Well, you see, my Super Bowl media thing here is fading a bit.
Okay.
So I think I'll probably take this off.
Okay.
And put that sticker.
You want the big one or you want the little one? I'm gonna bring them both to show you tomorrow. But
okay, we'll size them up here.
Okay.
I also learned my Kiowa Island where I go on vacation. I don't put it on the fold of the iPad. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
I kind of ruined that, but
Our guy Dave, shout out Dave, who's a big OBT fan, he had this in his pocket for months, waiting for me to come back in.
Oh my gosh.
Literally probably since August. I hadn't been back in because, well, you know this, and maybe our listeners will now know this. I don't drink very much. Don't like it. Whatever. I'm not against it. I'm not a teetotaler, but I was in there, and Dave hurriedly rushed this out of his pocket. He had held this in his pocket for months, hoping that I would go in there so he could tell me that you inspired him, Mace. This fantastic.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah. So I'll bring them both. We're going to do a little pregame outside the stadium. Our guy RJ said he was going to be at the game. If you see us, say hi. We don't bite. So,
Hard.
We love it, man. We love the audience. We love the fact that 3,500 people will show up on a Sunday night. Almost 2,000 of your Twitter followers will show up on a Monday night or Sunday night, excuse me. So we're going to do a little bit of, probably like a 10-minute little warm up. Hopefully it'll fire live at 4. Again, we got to film it and then get in and figure out if we do it on StreamYard, we can probably just run it from there. But anyway, so, it'll be up before the game. And then after the game, we got the post game show. You'll be doing it. Matthew's Fine Watches check in from the field after the game. So nobody covers the Broncos better than Andrew Mason and I, and we will continue to do that tomorrow, Mace.
Big night, Monday Night Football. Broncos 2 games above 500. A playoff bid in their hand. It's theirs for the taking. All theirs. Just got to reach out and grab it and pull it in and bring it home. I mean, hey, there's a chance if the Broncos get it done this week and then get it done next week. I mean, hey, they could have a playoff bid clinched before Christmas, believe it or not. Win the next 3. Miami loses 1. Merry Christmas, Broncos country. You're celebrating your playoff-bound Broncos. Wouldn't that be something?
Been a hell of a year, Mace. Hell of a year. And, of course, during the bye week, we're going to have shows for you. Nothing on Saturday or Sunday next week. But we're going to have shows for you Monday through Friday. We're going to bring you OBT. And Mace and I are going to try to get away just a little bit during the bye week. So, yeah, man. We're here for you. And, you want the current number, Mace?
3604.
It's 15,630. So what's our math now?
Oh, I'm talking about I was talking about the the live viewers. No.
Oh, okay.
So 15,630. So we got 370 to get here in the 30 days that follow. Okay.
Whew.
All right. So we got 370 divided by 30. That means we need what? We need about 12 and a half a day. Come on, help us. Help Cease and Mace get their bonus.
I think is it TLC ain't too proud to beg. Like, yeah, I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, that was okay. That was TLC, but if we're gonna go, it was a different song, same title. I mean, that was the Temptations, right? I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go.
Ain't too proud to beg.
Yeah.
See, you go Temptations, I go TLC.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this. You look back, I refuse to let you go. That's a little, I don't know. I don't know if you can get away with that line here in 2024.
Listen to any song from the 70s, and you'll hear a lot of inappropriate things. So
yes.
Yeah, it's different times, but it's good old times here on OBT. But Mace, before we wrap up, how can folks continue to help us out on YouTube?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss a vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.